Hello, New England and Bermuda District of Kiwanis. My name is Karl Uzcategui, and I currently serve as your district editor. Today, we will be talking about effective communication and the district publication. My hope for today's presentation is for you to take away a few key tools and tricks as you venture out in communicating with their clubs, while also, ideally, promoting the district publication. So, let's get started. Steps for effective communication. When I'm sitting down planning out the district publication, I typically go through a series of these 5 steps. I hope that you'll be able to use these 5 steps when you're thinking about an email that you're sending out, a newsletter that you might be working on, or just providing some support to your club. When you look at any communication, big or small, you have to think about your goal. Who is the audience that you're reaching out to? What am I hoping for the audience to get from reading this communication? How am I doing this effectively? When we think about the communication, we might venture into what is the content? What are we hoping to include in this publication? That might change seasonally. As you know from the district publication, we typically advertise what events are happening. So they're very strategic in when we send things out. For you, it might be based on the season, it might change. So for instance, during the holidays, you might have more communications being sent out to your clubs about different service projects that are happening or different events that are occurring, or just a fun little recipe for something to have at the next office holiday party. Speaking of holidays, how are we personalizing our communication? Now, for some of you, I'm sure you just rolled your eyes because when you think of personalizing an email, you might think that that's boring or you might think that that's crafty. It will, well, maybe one of both or something else, but when you're looking at your communications, think about how you're personalizing it. That might be adding some color to it, adding a photo, maybe a video. Not everyone takes in information the same, so we have to really think about how are we catering to the different audiences that we are serving. Before you send out anything to your many members, I encourage you to send that communication to yourself before you do anyone else. I'm sure you're thinking, Karl, what do you mean? Why am I sending this email, flyer, publication to me? Well, first, by sending it to yourself, you're able to catch any errors that happen when you do actually hit send. I don't know about you, but whenever I send something to someone, everything always gets moved around. So if you send it to yourself and notice it before it happens, then you're going to save yourself a bunch of confused emails later on. Secondly, make sure that all of the things that you have there appear. Are all the hyperlinks working? Are they taking people to where they need to go? So testing out your communication might seem trivial, but it definitely helps you in the long term. And last but not least, analyze and evaluate. After you've sent out your communication, have people read it? Do people understand it? How can you update it to make it more accessible, more attainable, and more interesting so that people want to read and come back to whatever you just sent to them? For me, obviously, you get the publication. It comes out 4 times a year, and I would hope that you read it. And it changes ever so often. For you, it might be an email, a newsletter, whatever it may be. Start looking at what it is that you're trying to communicate. How are you doing it effectively? Oh, wait, isn't that the title? So just to recap, think about who your audience is and what you hope to communicate. Think about what you're highlighting. Is it going to be based on the season? Are there going to be key points during the year that you have to communicate something more than others? How are you personalizing it? How are you making it something that people want to read? Is it fun? Is it outgoing? Does it have videos, images, colors, whatever makes you feel most comfortable? How are you testing it out? Are you testing it out? And how are you adapting as you communicate and during your year in your office. So these are just a few things that I think about from a publication standpoint, but just like any publication, it's just another form of communication. And it's something that I hope that you can take away from to be more effective in your communication styles, whether it be an email, newsletter, website, whatever it may be. So something exciting that I'm looking forward to is next year's district publication. Here on the screen, you will see a brief timeline of what to expect. You will see due dates and release dates. This is all subject to change with the approval of the governor. So please make sure that you make note of all these dates. Typically, I will reach out to you 2 weeks ahead of time, if not earlier, to let you know that there is a call for articles and that we need clubs and yourselves to submit something. So please make sure that when you do get those emails from me, that you are sending out an email to your club or shooting a text or whatever way that you communicate with your officers to let them know the publication is looking for articles and they have a due date of this day. If somebody sends me something after the due date, I can't always guarantee that it will get included. But what I do tell people is if your article isn't included, because maybe there's just too many, or maybe it came after the due date, I do save them. So your article might not get featured that same publication, but it might get featured in the next publication, or if it's seasonal. So say you sent me a project or an article on something that happened in the winter and it was very festive, but it wouldn't make sense for me to post in July, then I will save that publication until the next appropriate like winter publication to release it. So articles can be submitted to me at any time, at any point of the year. But if you want something featured specifically in that specific publication, here are the dates, here are the releases, and I try my best to work around people's schedules, but sometimes we can't include all of them. And I hope that you understand with the fact that we also have 30 plus page publication sometimes. So it's crazy. I love it. And I hope that you'll contribute to it. And I'm always available with any questions that you have. So speaking of questions, here on the screen, you'll see my email, Yankiwanian at newenglandkiwanis.org. If you send an email to that, I will get it. That's also where you can send any of your articles. I encourage you to let your clubs know about the existence of the publication when it does get released. Please share it with them, even though they're getting it. Maybe they're not getting it, and that's good for us to know. But we want to make sure that as many members of our district understand who we are, and what we hope to accomplish. And how do we do that? We do that through effective communication. The publication has been around for many years. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to work with such great individuals that want to share their story. And I hope that you'll take this opportunity to share your story in the next future publication.